guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and I'm back with another reaction to Krypton. We're going right on through to episode 6. I just finished watching episode 5, and yeah, I'm just trying to catch up with this show too. 3.5 weeks off is a long time in Showtime to take off. A lot goes on. So anyways, back onto this episode, which is episode 6, as I mentioned. It is called Civil Wars. So last episode was really good. It was a wonderful little journey down memory lane with the family Zod and learning a little bit more about Jayna, her position, why she is the way she is, and kind of what fuels a lot of what we see in her personality and decisions that she makes now. But we also got to find out that potentially Seg's ancestors might have been not so great people. There's a whole group of people called that are living in the Outlands that are outcasts, it looks like, of the society of Krypton, and they don't like the elves very much. They're protecting something that apparently the elves are not supposed to get a hold of because they ruin the world if that's the case. So who knows what that is. We also found out that Nyssa has a child, or not Nyssa, sorry, that Lyta has a child. Who that child's father is up in the air, because we know from earlier in the season that children are created in this new society via the Genesis Chamber, and with her being engaged to her fiance, whose name I will remember one of these days, they could have potentially created a child that way. But I'm wondering, since this kid seems to be a rebel and a bit of a badass, I'm kind of wondering if potentially he might be Seg's child. So again, because this is just me binging, I'm going to jump right into these and then we'll chit chat about the episode right after. Okay? Let's do it.
General Zod. This son of a bitch is Superman's greatest enemy.
Damn.
Trust me on this. We need to kill him now.
Okay, well, this is where they might fall apart. My precious, precious couple is about to fall apart. Oh, this kid again. Oh, they wrote on your face, sweetie. That's not how you do makeup.
Rao, I think you know the opposite of eternal life. Oh no.
She's a child. Owen is like, I did not sign up for this. Meanwhile, back in Kandor.
Festival with the Ascension ceremony at the Hall of Justice. It's private.
The Hall of what?
Wait. Your friend here didn't mention that.
One thing at a time. But now you've lost trust. Good job, Adam.
Well?
Hey, man.
Oh, Seg. This is a hard one because the Zod did love Krypton. Like, loved Krypton.
You guys can't seriously be considering giving this whack job a weapon of mass destruction.
Can you start explaining and stop insulting Adam, please?
Maybe we have to step back and let Brainiac take Kandor.
It has to happen. But you lost your audience.
Go. Meditate on your sins.
What was in that bowl?
And perfect yourself.
You could join them together forever. Let's choose them.
This girl's like, I'm out, I'm out, I'm out.
Sophie, that's wonderful, isn't it? Yes.
Yep.
I'm so happy.
I'm running away now.
He only cares about the glorification of his God, and he expects the people to dedicate themselves to that.
You know, they're talking awfully loud about treason. I'm just saying.
You're right. I probably should stay out of it.
It's no trouble.
This kid's too smart for his own good.
No. Thank you, Commander M. It's really okay.
That kid's gonna die. Damn!
Wait!
Whoa!
I've requested an audience with the voice of Rao.
You're not leaving that room, son. Ever again.
You have your commander's praise.
Oh! Jayna! Jayna! Girl! I was about to to say, you probably should have done something a lot quicker. You're not gonna win, son. I don't think you've seen who you're up against.
You fashioned me into a weapon. I take pride in that.
It's like, it's half truths. I don't know what to believe.
Please feel free to conceal your bond in the tribunal, Commander.
Like, they're just talking about this so loudly and using actual words. I can't.
Thank you, sir.
It's
You hadn't guided me here, and I'd never have found it.
I'm telling you, that is House Zod and House L together. That's what that symbol is.
I look forward to coming to know
Dev looks so nervous. He's like Jay-Z in that gif.
soon.
I can't believe I didn't see it before. Doesn't that symbol look familiar to you? It's the L and Zod sigils superimposed on each other.
Duh. Okay, a pinprick is all that's needed.
Hey, whoa.
What'd you think was gonna happen? Oh, Seg.
Is this what you're in?
I'm with you. But no doomsday. We find another way.
I'm not opposed to that. Yet. What the?
Worthy Sagittara.
All gonna die. Damn. We gonna lose Jayna? Ah, man. Okay. Well, that was the Civil Wars episode there. Interesting stuff. We now see who this was. I don't know why I didn't think General Zod, but I didn't think... Oh no, I guess that works. That's right, because it wasn't... That's right. Zod's older than Superman. I don't know why in my head I had that Zod and Superman were the same age, but no. General was the same age as Jor-El. So, yes. And what he said was true. Jor-El and Zod were friends. And then, obviously, things didn't go so well when Jor-El banished him forever for his crimes. But the thing is, the Zods we know went, well, I shouldn't say all the Zods. That Zod went crazy. Like, General Zod is not a good man. He's an extremist, to put it mildly, but I can understand, like, this episode was so, like, the theme that really came out to me is that there was so many gray lines, there were so many blurry areas. It's so hard to be like, this person's right, this person's wrong, this is good, this is bad, because it was all so, like, there was just so much going on. There's so much going on. What stood out to me, I guess, is, well, first and foremost, let's just talk about Adam real quick. Adam, you suck. You suck at arguments. You should, I hope you're not a lawyer in your timeline, because you are terrible at arguments. I mean, I get why he didn't tell Seg about, I understand why he didn't tell him about Krypton. I mean, it just would have made, you know, we've seen, Seg is not exactly what you call a rational person. He's very emotional. He's very impulsive. He doesn't really think things through. And so I'm pretty sure if Adam had shown up and the first thing he said was, this whole place is gonna blow up in like 200 years and there's not anything you can do to stop it. You mean, do you really think, like, you know, there's no way Seg would have heard a word he said after that, right? He would have been so focused on nothing other than trying to save Krypton. And we already know from, I think it was the first Man of Steel, was it? I think that we heard Jor-El talk about how, like, there was no way to save Krypton. Like, it had to go. Like, it was just too late. Anything they could have done to save it had already, like, the ship had sailed long before any of them even existed. Like, any of them meaning Jor-El or Kal-El had even existed. So it's hard, and Seg is just so short-sighted that unfortunately trying to reason with him about why, you know, he has to let this happen was just not gonna happen then, like, just like now. And unfortunately Zod he's a silver-tongued little jerk in this one. I mean, I don't know what Zod was like in the comics, but in the movies he's never really been depicted as overly articulate. He's been a lot more about being very decisive and very intimidating. But in this incarnation of him, it's very interesting to see that he is just that. He's very articulate and he's very silver-tongued, and you can tell he uses manipulation just as much as he uses force to get what he wants. So yeah, Adam didn't have a prayer of winning that argument, and unfortunately he did lose trust in Seg because he didn't tell him the truth about Krypton. I feel like, well, no, I was gonna say that I feel like Seg being so okay with the fact that Adam's telling him that Zod destroys or causes his grandson never to be born, like the fact that it doesn't seem very upset about that, but I kind of get it. You know, if Kal-El was there, or he saw something with Kal-El, or something that was tangible, even like his son, to kind of make that connection to who Kal-El will be, then it would probably help him. But like, you've got Zod sitting there, he's like, this is my, you know, my mom's, my mom is Lyta, and Seg loves Lyta, so if Lyta is there protecting her child, like there's no way Seg's gonna want to go against that, right? He just about died, and now he's really like remembering how much he loves this girl. So it's not, the timing's really terrible, and unfortunately that kind of tipped the argument very heavily in Zod's favor. But that's again why it was kind of one of those things where, like I said, it's kind of a gray area. Like, I can't be mad at Lyta because it's her flesh and blood, and it's her son, and we already know that because of the way she was with her mother, and especially the way their relationship is at the moment, Lyta's not going to do anything to alienate her kid, and she's no reason to. She doesn't know anything about this guy outside of the fact that he's saying he's trying to save Krypton, which that was the thing that was probably the hardest thing to read throughout this episode, is Zod, it kind of almost felt like double talk, but I realized that it's very real. Like, and that's why it was so hard to tell how much of this might be him manipulating the situation to his favor and how much of it is truth. I mean, I do believe when he says that Zods have always been hardcore Krypton, like they were Krypton, hell yeah, you know, that was always House Zod. And even in all the incarnations we've seen of Zod in the movies and in shows, he's always been like, Krypton was our home, Krypton was our first and foremost. But, you know, kind of leaving out the fact that he's a homicidal maniac and that he wanted to kind of take over Earth and make them all kneel to him like they were minions, and you know, all that kind of stuff. That I'm pretty sure that especially if Lyta saw that, especially considering what a champion for the people Lyta is, you know, she saw the way that he treated, you know, humans and what he planned to do in the future. There's no way she'd be backing him. So it's fuzzy territory, and the writing, I think, was really clever here to really bring out how it's kind of hard to, like, it's easy to believe Zod in this episode because he is being honest from his point of view. So interesting about the Doomsday. I don't think, I'm trying to remember if that was the creature that was in Batman versus Superman. Please let me know. I only watched that movie once, so I don't remember. But anyway, interesting about the fact that they created that together. And I guess it was, but who? It would have been an old, and how? Because elves have always been in the Science Guild, Zods have always been the Guardians, so that's just a odd question I thought about. I'm not sure how that collab happened, but interesting that those two houses apparently have been fairly close for a long time. I don't know how they took them so long to figure out that the sigils were put together. My romantic heart, my shipper heart, was kind of hoping that that meant that there was a child between, you know, House El and House Zod potentially, that was what would be necessary. But now we know it's just that they, I guess, worked together in the past. And I guess, I mean, we heard that, right? Zod has always said that, you know, House El and House Zod used to be cool until Jor-El showed up, basically. So the whole assassination plot thing, it was okay. I mean, I feel like there's a lot, I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot with the whole thing with Brainiac really just starting to study the Kryptonians, really taking this knowledge, like his interest in this little girl and how in Ona, and learning things through a child's eyes in this particular planet. I mean, he was genuinely curious, you could see that, but I mean, I don't even know why he was going through the whole thing of asking her. It makes me wonder, though, is if the Brainiac ever actually does get willing participants, because it seems like his sentries just take whoever, but I am curious if if there were people who were like, yeah, no, it's cool, I'll let you just absorb me and I'll just live as part of your consciousness forever. Like, that whole thing about him trying to learn more about Kryptonians and see if he thinks they're worthy of collection, really just being an information gatherer right now was quite interesting. It was a small part yet very big. It gives us a little bit, because I mean, in a show like this, I know the show is about Seg, I know the show is about his journey, but it's important that when you introduce a villain, especially when as big as Brainiac, as much as it is easy for them to be like, oh, he's this big universe-eating weirdo thing that just goes around killing entire species, it's still good to understand something about him. If he's intelligent, if he can talk, and does he have feelings, like, as an audience, it's much more fulfilling to have a villain that we can figure out what their issues are and what they're actually trying to do, so we can relate to that, and it also just makes it a lot more interesting as a storyline overall. So I'm glad that the show is taking time to give us little bits into what makes Brainiac tick. You know, there's one thing I have to say about Jayna's character. I really like how consistently written she's been. I mean, we're seeing different aspects to her personality, but she's so consistent. You know, she is hardcore. Like, when Jayna commits to something, she commits. She's 100%. She knows how to put her emotions aside, her own personal feelings aside, and just deal with the business that needs to be done. And we saw in the last episode how she became that way, but with this whole assassination plot, you know that it bothered her deeply to kill fellow Sagittari. I mean, that little junior guy, I mean, I couldn't even be mad at him. Like, he was doing his job. He was doing exactly what you're supposed to do. He would have been a great Sagittari, and he had to die simply because he knew something was wrong. His gut told him something was wrong, and he acted on it. He did everything right, and that's really, you know, what killed Jayna so much. Like, it couldn't have been some other little punk, you know, who always gives trouble, or someone at least that she could look back and be like, yeah, that little jerk was kind of a problem anyway. It was like one of her best officers. You know what I mean? He's exactly the kind of person she wants, you know, in her squad, and unfortunately, he's gone because he asked too many questions. You know, he did too well with his job. So anyway, but seeing how that bothered her, you know, because she is all about honor, and this is a dishonorable thing. Killing that boy was dishonorable. Assassination is dishonorable. It's just against her character, and you can see it eating away at her. Like, everything she's doing is just eating away, because, you know, she didn't get to be Jayna's whole, you can tell that she stakes almost everything that she is, or what she feels that she is, on her honor and on her ability to be a great soldier. Like, those are like literally kind of what she builds her entire identity upon. And what she's doing right now is just chipping away at that. It's taking away like the one thing that she's held dearest in this world. But it's just like she did this thing, you know, she saved her daughter because it was the one thing that, you know, the one kind of non-traditional thing that she would do, the one greatest act of love that she could do. But now, as she said to you know, now it really comes through what she meant when she said to Lyta, you're my greatest shame, because who she's built herself up to be to this point is just this, everything she's doing from this point forward has just been going against everything in her nature, and it's killing her. You can tell it's killing her, and she's just got to stay stoic and stick, because that's her. Like, she made this decision, she sat on this course. This is, in her mind, you know, you can almost hear her thinking like, this is the price for my daughter's life. And it's sad, because if she survived what just happened at the end there with Brainiac, she's gonna, you know, this is probably going to build resentment. You know what I mean? It would build resentment in her towards Lyta, even though she wouldn't want it to be that way, but that's honestly the way it would happen. But again, I don't think there's even gonna be time for that, because if she survives that room, if she did survive, she'd be more about, oh my God, what the hell is that? And how do we kill it? So she probably would be more worried about that than whether or not she was being honorable. But I have a feeling we've lost Jayna, and I'm so upset, because she was such a, I mean, why do you keep losing the badass moms? I don't get it. Stupid show, but we'll see. She might have somehow survived, or maybe a part of her will still survive. I have no idea what happens. I mean, he might have just infected her. I have a feeling he's gonna know that people are gonna notice a bunch of the Sagittari, especially the Primus, just gone all of a sudden. So my guess is that he's going to just leave a handful of them alive, but under his control. I don't know if he's able to do that without their eyes going all psycho, but we'll find out. We got a little backstory on Vex as well. I mean, I'm not as, you know, I'm not as overly impressed with that, but we learned that he wasn't always a highly ranked person. I mean, I think he was ranked entirely, but the way that Jayna said you came from nowhere and married into House Vex, I guess that means he must have been rankless. Yeah, he must have been rankless, that's right, because otherwise he would have had his own house name. So I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, maybe they choose to. I mean, this is an evolved society, there doesn't seem to be the gender politics that we see in our world, so maybe it's a choice. Maybe you can choose to go into one house or the other. It sounds like he was rankless and potentially just, you know, not very recognized, and then as soon as he became a person of a house or of rank, he's been working to make himself and his family known and prestigious and to be up there. So I don't know, it kind of again creates that gray area that I talked about before. Is he doing this because he knows what it's like to be at the rankless level and that he doesn't want to see that continue, especially since it got worse, it sounds like, after Rao showed up, or the voice of Rao showed up? Or is he really just all about, you know, giving himself prominence? Is this really just an ascension to glory story for him to take over the very people that once oppressed him? So I mean, I'm not overly interested, to be honest. It's not that interesting of a story to me, but it is cool to at least hear a little bit more background about him. Outside of that, I don't know, there's like this, it'd be interesting to see what happens next. Like this whole thing with Zod, with General Zod, is a very interesting twist I didn't expect. I mean, Lyta spoke for me when she said that, you know, when I saw that sigil, you know, like, or when I see him, he's general, and hearing that our kids are enemies, like, he's like, I kind of had hope that we would end up together. And I mean, I'm like, me too, like, he's ranked, but, you know, I guess it is what it is. In the future, Superman is not a Zod. He is an L, and Zod is a Zod. So, and I mean, again, who knows? I mean, that may not be 100% true. Just because they don't end up having children together does not mean they don't still love each other. I'm gonna hold out one teeny tiny theory. It's way out there and it's probably 100% wrong, but just the shipper in me can't help it. What if Zod actually is their child? Like maybe Cal thought, or sorry, maybe, sorry, I got Superman on the brain now. Maybe Seg thought that, you know, it had to be a combination of his blood and Zod's to make the chamber open, but what if Zod's blood would have done it alone? What if he is an L and a Zod and his blood could have opened the chamber on its own? We won't know now, but I'm just curious, like maybe if Seg refuses to open the chamber later on, because I don't think Zod's gonna drop it, what if he goes back himself and tries to open it on his own, and he does, and then he takes the secret to his grave that he's actually an L? Because I can see Zod doing that. With how much he hates House L now, he would hate the fact that he was half L, and he'd be like, I'm never telling anyone, and this is gonna die. This is gonna be at our graves. And then Lyta and Seg would never actually get together because they believed in the future they never got together. Whoo! Look at that conspiracy theory, kids. Boom, I wrote the show, I'm done. Peace. It's a dream. It's not gonna happen, but that'd be kind of cool to me. I just feel like going through all the work of making the sigils work together for both houses is a lot for just a good old friendship. I don't know. I guess my biggest question at this point really comes down to, how is Adam going to convince Seg that Superman has to be saved? Because it's obviously Zod doesn't give a crap, right? Zod could care less if Superman never comes to be. And I understand Seg's disconnect. I think right now for Seg, you know, especially unlike I said with Lyta, who can actually touch and see her son, you know, Cal is such a far-fetched idea to him right now that I think it's just, he can't really care. You know, he's having a hard time really personalizing saving his life. So there's got to be something I'm hoping we're going to see. I don't know how, but even if it's not Cal, if he can see something like with Jor-El or something to give him some kind of tangible tie to the fact that he has to stay alive and he's got to make sure his lineage stays alive somehow. We'll have to wait till the next episode to find out what happens. So thanks so much for watching this episode with me, guys. If you like this video, please click like, and if you want to see more from this geeky face, please click subscribe. Until next time, see ya!